Hey guys, Station X here, and today we're going to be taking a look at some recently released Nintendo Switch games that I bought the past couple of weeks. Here in October, there were some really good games that came out, and with Halloween kind of coming up, this kind of being the Halloween-y episode, not too scary here, we're going to be looking at some of the games I picked up with this pile right here, starting with Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1. I was very much looking forward to this, but of course when this was first announced, I had a little bit of some eyebrow raising because, you know, like the fact that it was only the 3, it kind of made me remind myself of the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection on the PS3, and with the amount of games that was on that, it kind of left me going, why couldn't we have more? But I will say I do understand that the Switch does have a bit of, you know, limitations on what you can and can't do. How much of that is affected on Metal Gear Solid, I don't know. But also, if they are going to do more than one volume, which the Volume 1 applies, I'm hoping that we're going to get some Metal Gear Solid games that kind of no one talks about, or they don't really get re-released that often, or they just get forgotten about sometimes. I mean, I know something I mentioned recently was the GameCube Metal Gear Solid game Twin Snakes. That one tends to not get re-released that often and also gets forgotten about. And there's also a Metal Gear Solid game on PSP that would enjoy some attention. And of course, we could kind of throw in one that, you know, might be best stayed forgotten, but it is part of the Metal Gear history, and that is Metal Gear Survive. I know no one likes that game, but I mean, hey, this would be a good opportunity to really re-release all the Metal Gear Solid games, or even just Metal Gear games, in this volume collection. But I don't know, I thought it was a pretty good idea to do that. Will they do it? Time will tell. We don't know. But for now, solid collection here with some bonus content included. Next up on the list, we have Red Dead Redemption. Now, this is very rare when Rockstar appears on a Nintendo system, and when it does, you know I'm gonna get that game. Now, as far as Nintendo Switch is concerned, they only have LA Noire, the GTA trilogy, and now Red Dead Redemption 1. And this one, I think, honestly, being the best one on there because it's Red Dead Redemption. I mean, this is a pretty solid story with a pretty solid gameplay, and it has Undead Nightmare, a pretty solid DLC expansion. Honestly, the fact that Red Dead 2 doesn't have Undead Nightmare is just kind of criminal to me, no pun intended. But you know, if you wanted to experience what happened to John Marston after Red Dead Redemption 2, this is what, you know, this is the story to play if you're going in story chronological order. Next up on our list is a Pokemon game, Detective Pikachu. Now, I'm always down to buy some Pokemon, and especially when spin-offs, they do kind of have some really good spin-offs. Some of the ones that come up to mind is Pokken Tournament, a really good spin-off fighting game for Pokemon. You have Pokemon Snap, and specifically for Switch, new Pokemon Snap, which is probably my favorite spin-off series. The Mystery Dungeon games, which are pretty cool. And you also have Detective Pikachu Returns. This did get a 3DS version, which I played a little bit. Next up, we have Pikmin 1 and 2. Now, this one's cool because, as of recording this, I don't have the first one, which kind of sucks. I have 2, 3, 4 that came out recently, and now I have the first one finally, but just the Nintendo Switch version. I do have to fix that missing the GameCube version, but in all honesty, I'm not a super big Pikmin fan. I do like the series, but it's not my favorite, with 3 kind of being the one I played the most. But it is nice that with 3 having a deluxe version on the Switch, them having made a specific Nintendo Switch version with 4, them adding Pikmin 1 and 2 is cool for a couple reasons. One, I only have a way to play the first one, and not only that, but portably along with the second one. But the entire Pikmin series is playable from 1 to 4 on Nintendo Switch, which is just really funny to me and awesome, because how often can you say an entire series is just playable physically, mind you, on a system like that? It's just kind of, it's not too often you get to say that. Another thing to kind of throw some salt in the mix, as you will, is that you can play the entire Pikmin series from 1 to 4 on Nintendo Switch before you could play the entirety of the Metroid Prime series 1 to whenever they make 4. And that is just kind of, that's the part that really cracks me up, is that fact right there. But also, it is just really nice to see that Pikmin is getting some love, because this is also not the most popular franchise out of all of Nintendo's library, like your Zeldas and Marios. But speaking of Mario, we have Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and I'm gonna be honest with you, this is a breath of fresh air, because typically when it comes to the 2D Mario games, they are such a drag to go through. At the very least, before you put all your pitchforks out, the new Super Mario Bros. Series is such a drag to go through. I mean, when the first one came out, it was pretty good, but after they kept pumping them out, it was just like, it was so bland, so devoid of character, and it was just the opposite of what we had before. I mean, when you look at the first 3 NES games, the Super Mario World, the 2 on Game Boy with Land and Land 2, they all had their own distinct levels, they had their distinct looks, they had their distinct music, they had the distinct sprites. It all had like this theme that fit whatever game it was, on. And with the new Super Mario Brothers, it just felt so generic cookie cutter that with Wonder being a thing, it is a wonder that I've rediscovered my love for 2D Mario games, because this is just, it is wacky, it has its own distinct character, it has its own distinct look, and it looks like they actually put some actual effort into this game other than just doing some generic Mario stuff. I have to appreciate that. Now, this is the first Mario game with new voices as well, which is a very big sad, but at the same time, it's understandable. The person who plays as Mario is pretty high up there in age at this point, and I'm sure it's probably going to be hurting his voice to keep doing Mario all the time. So it's nice that he finally gets to have a break, and a new person can kind of take the reins for that, which is, something that would eventually happen anyway. But this is an awesome game, especially since I also did get to play it a little bit before I bought it, which is a nice thing I don't get to do very often. And I would definitely recommend this to anybody who's looking for a Mario experience on Nintendo Switch. And last but certainly not least, we have these 2 games here that obviously did not release recently, but 2 I wanted to include in this pile just because I did pick them up recently, and that is Candle, The Power of the Flame, and Bendy and the Ink Machine. Now with Candle, I'm gonna be real with you, the only reason why I have this here today is because of the fact that I wanted to take advantage of the buy 2 get 1 free deal that was going on. And Bendy was part of that as well, but there is a broader reason for why I got this. The other reason for this one also too is just the cover did kind of draw me into it, but Bendy was one of those games that I was just always looking at and never really went for it. It would always be pushed to the side, something else would have come out that caught my interest, and I just always looked at it, and always just passed on it. Finally, I said, what the heck, let's go for it, and here we are today. Both also do have really good covers. I'm gonna be honest, with these 2 games, I do want to stress the importance of the cover for this one, just because of the fact that it is kind of the main reason why I bought this, other than the fact that the buy 2 get 1 free was going on. And I think it is very important that when you have a nice cover that draws you in, especially when you're just going into the store just trying to buy a random Switch game, it is kind of an important factor for me sometimes. So that's kind of the reason for that. Also, these 2 games do fit into my portion of the collection for Nintendo Switch, where it's like the indie titles, which I have a huge chunk of them, and a lot of them quite often is either due to the fact that the cover art is really cool, or I've seen gameplay of it before and I like the story of it, the art design is pretty good, just the way it plays, the whole 9 yards. Whatever the reason may be, those indie games have kind of random reasons for why I purchase them sometimes, and these 2 kind of fit into that category. But that will be the end of today's Road to Switch video. It is a bit of a shorter one, and I did just kind of want to throw this out there because most of the games in this pile did release recently, and I just wanted to talk about them today. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think I got a good pile here? Out of the recently released games, which ones are you playing, or which ones were you looking forward to getting? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoy my content, a like and subscribe always helps out the channel. I've been Station X, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly.